Hello everyone, my name is Yasmin. Today I'm going to talk about the food consumption habits and trends in Australia. This is a geography of Australia, which is a continent that lies in between the Pacific and Indian Oceans. The history of Australia's first inhabitants are the Aboriginal people who believe that they came from unknown point from Asia about 50,000 to 60,000 years ago. In the 1770, Captain James Cook was credited for the first European discovery for Australia, and in 1788 was the first settlement in Australia. At that time, there was a white Australian policy which only allows the white European Australia to enter Australia. But after the World War II, 1970, the white Australian policy was diminished, and the migration rate has increased since that time. Due to the increase of migration of different parts of the world, the Australian culture now is as broad as its country landscape. In my case study, I'm going to talk about Rachel, who's female, 24 years old. She has an Aboriginal blood, and she is living in Melbourne. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna talk about the cooking and practice for the Aboriginal people. The Aboriginal people, they are semi-nomadic. They are hunt-gatherer. Women usually they collect the ingredients with their kids to ensure that they pass on their skill and knowledge to the kids. Men, they were hunter for bigger animals. They used to have cooking methods. For example, they used to roast. They used to roast on coal and baked in an earth oven or pit. Aboriginal people has regional food cultures that has developed in accordance to the plants that grew well in a particular region. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders identify themselves through their land area, and the clan group in each area has developed their own culture and belief. They created geographical boundaries such as rivers and mountains. The early European migrants to Australia influenced on the nation by deforestation and the turning of more and more land to grazing for meat and grain production. Basically, they turned the lands into farms. Cooking methods, including baking in oven, using gas and electrical technologies, which has developed over the time. I'm going to talk about the staple foods in Australia as it's been influenced by the British colonization. So the Australian staple crops was mainly influenced by the European people, including potatoes, corn, and beans. And staple foods are the food energy, which is available all year round. Other condiments, for example, came along with new migrants like spices from India and other things. Factors that influencing the cuisine including religion and beliefs, which is a major influence from the new migrants. There's the Christianity. Pancakes are associated with Shrove Tuesday. Muslim fasting during their holy month of Ramadan. And after that, they follow celebration of feasting, which is basically special food that been made at that time for that specific occasion, and that follows their fasting period. Australian cuisine is very multicultural and multiracial. So there's no specific Australian cuisine, as it's been influenced by the migrants from around the world. The main influence of the Australian cuisine, we can say, is British cuisine following the colonization. For example, nowadays we can see in the shopping centers we having a big food court which include a different food from different countries, which indicates the different cuisines. Main agriculture and farming. The main agriculture, the Aboriginal people did not practice actually any agriculture. They believe that they have numerous practices that ensures the food abundance and availability. One of these methods, it's called fire stick farming, which is a systematic burning of grassland and undergrowth in treed area. And that encourages new growth and facilitates the germination, so better seeds grown. Over the years of new people arriving to Australia and advanced technologies develop around the world, such as farming and farming technologies, has influence on the agriculture of Australia. Also, the trade was improved over the time. For example, olive oils once came to Australia. They used to sell it in small bottles in the pharmacy shelves, and now we can see it in a big section in supermarkets. The media influence is mainly by the American culture through the television, cinema, and the internet, including social media, which had substantial influence on food culture. For example, hamburgers, French fries, soft drinks, which has been incorporated into Australian cuisine, especially for young people. Influences of other country cuisines, especially by British food, which was the main influence in Australia, potato, flour, and milk, and Chinese, Italian, Indian, Turkish, and many other food from other countries. There is also new research about the beneficial of Mediterranean diet, which came from the Greek cuisine and the Mediterranean cuisine, basically. Going back to my case study of Rachel. So Rachel, as a young adult, she is working. She has her partner Darren and her young child Tyla, which recently she enrolled her in Boop Willam Aboriginal Child and Family Center for 2 days. Rachel, she is an agnostic, which means she doesn't believe in the existence or the non-existence of God. But she does understand songs and stories from that passed down through the generation of Wiradjuri people who are part of the Kulin nation from her grandmother. Rachel was born in the new existence of the new culture in Australia, so her grandmother could have more influence by the changes and the transition of the migrants with food and practices in Australia. But Rachel, she's entrenched in this new culture, so there's no big difference in her lifestyle and food habits and practice. As due to her young age, we can say that Rachel is not particularly influenced by the new culture, or I can say she has influence by the new culture, but she doesn't have the old culture of her Aboriginal origin. From the FAO data, we can indicate that the new crops that has been grown in Australia increased over the years from the year 1963 to the 2013. An example of wheat has been grown. The number of tons had been increased since that time for about 500,000 tons. And there is data about other crops that you can see and indicates of other products that not a native plants from Australia. Thank you for listening. These are some references.